So thanks, John. Good morning, everybody. I'm James. So essentially what we want to do here is set up the project appropriately. We want to set it up for success, and hopefully this is a fairly straightforward section. There's only 5 key things that we want to do, activities in this section. We want to break the project down into packages with a package breakdown structure. We look at the internal capacity of the employer and also the external willingness of the market to provide these packages using the make or buy criteria. And then we look at the high-level approach to procuring each package, which is then further detailed in the following sections. So for the externally sourced packages, we want to talk to the market, we want to see what's happening out there, because it's obviously very fast-moving economically and politically. With the providers, we want to look at, is it a one-off, or do we want to move to the collaborative spectrum where it's a type of product where we're going to apply several times over. The high-level contracting strategy we want to look at, and how we're going to select them. And as I said, we're going to talk to the market all the way through. So, what do we need to input to this section? Hopefully all of the bits that John's provided to us successfully in the previous section. We need a scope statement, we need the business case, and the project brief. As a project manager, I find often that the client doesn't feel the need to share the business case. We're just talking about when we're getting involved, but sometimes the client actually doesn't feel the need for the project team to be involved and see that. And then the project brief comes out from the business case. So we need all of that, and then hopefully we come out with a well-tailored procurement strategy. So this is the process diagram from the strategy stage. We've got our business case and our internal capacity and external capacity. The five steps: package breakdown structure, provider possibilities, the internal and external market consultation, and then the relationship for each package, looking at the different types. And then outputs as with the procurement strategy. So the first activity is the package breakdown structure. So what we want to do is we start off very high level. We want to refine it and look at it by consultation with the project team and with the client and with the market as well as we go along. So the package breakdown structure does incorporate those 5 levels that John was talking about before, the elements of the outcomes and the benefits to the project, success criteria, what are these capacities and the capabilities that the project is going to provide to the client, and the deliverables for each, the goods and the services, and then the work breakdown structure from that. So this is a neat little example from the guide. For a solar power station, what are the business benefits? Essentially revenue and earnings desired for the project. Success criteria: CapEx on budget, OpEx on budget, on program, potential quality. Success criteria: what are the enhanced capabilities, total power to be generated, and then that's quantified, so that can be assessed and measured. The deliverables that provide that capability, so essentially design, construction, infrastructure, breaking down that, and then the next level down, so breaking that down into the various elements of the work breakdown structure. Next step is to understand the provider possibilities. So what we want to do is we want to look at the internal capacity to provide of the employer organisation. We look at the market, we talk to the market, we send out RFIs, we try and work out what the external potential to provide is and their willingness as well. So next, as I said, when we're looking at the employer's capacity to provide, we want to understand their skills and their functions and their capabilities. So this defines what we call the make or buy criteria, which is in the guide, and then understanding external potential, which we've covered by way of the market consultation or with the project team. So now we know our internal capacity and our external capacity. We get onto the make or buy criteria. So this is in the guide. There's quite a few more examples of this. You go through the criteria, how you're going to test it, and then there's an example. Taking a couple of these, for example, legislative. A lot of clients might have either legal in-house team or health and safety, but for a construction project, they often don't have that type of specific expertise, so they might need to buy that in. Culture is an interesting one. The example here is for working in a foreign country and speaking the language. One of my current examples is where we've just got a very new client. I was just there yesterday for a kick-off meeting. They've already decided on their procurement strategy before bringing us on, which rings the alarm bells in my head. But the reason why they've done that is because it's a very it's a complex, high-spec, high-containment lab, and they've got specific equipment suppliers that they want to contract with, so they've decided to go a construction management route, which brings its own challenges. So what we're trying to work through with them is their internal culture and how they understand the risk allocation, commercial, contractual risk, and where they sit in there. So getting their internal culture aligned with the procurement strategy that they've determined. We're still going to review it and make sure that it's the right way to go before we agree to it. So next, so we've got our package breakdown structure, we've got all our packages, and now we want to, and whether we're internally sourcing them or externally sourcing them, we want to make sure we can bring those together into packages, either to gain economies of scale, to make them more attractive to the market, a single point responsibility. For example, design and build is one way of procuring. Obviously, a lot of people know about that. And then the interfaces between each package, you need to think about those in terms of physical delivery and things like that. This is another neat example, a simple example from the guide. You just want to make sure you can show it pictorially, all the services, all the works, all the goods, and then subcomponents and providers for each. Another nice, very simple example from the guide. For example, this is a wind farm project, breaking it down into the various levels, like we've spoken about, business case down, showing it all the way across, and then breaking the components down into each type, and then allocating the provider to each. So it's a nice, straightforward way to do it.
That was based on an Excel spreadsheet, which was provided to me, where that line there goes all the way across there, basically.
Yeah.
We had to put it on one page, really.
I think the example is from the wind farm that the turbines and the plant were great for one provider, but then they're not, they don't do roads and things like that, so break that out.
Okay.
Yeah. So from a package perspective, this shows you want to make sure from a scope perspective you have hard boundaries between them. You don't want gaps between, you don't want overlaps. However, there will be independencies and interactions between each, so perhaps we want to look at packaging these up together separately like that, so for different suppliers and different products. So we're looking at the high-level nature of the relationship between each contract package. So the first two, the respect of the profit impact versus the risk, and the relative investment versus the risk. So at one end, if it's transactional, then it's going to be, if it's low profit impact, low risk, then it's going to be a transactional one. If it's something that's high impact and high risk, high cost, like a building lift, for example, where you've only got a small number of suppliers, then you're going to look for a more strategic relationship. The last point, and complexity and riskiness of that over the lifetime of the relationship. So if you just skip on to the next one. Same type of thing. If you've got a one-off commodity, if you're buying a TV, you're going to look at a transactional relationship. If you're looking at a commodity in a more permanent or high number, you're going to look at a call-off. If you, at the other end, if you've got a complex where we're talking about projects, you want to look at project-based relationships. But if that's a permanent, you may change the way that you look at it in terms of long-term strategy relationships with that provider. Next. So they're the 5 key activities. Hopefully, if we get them all right, we've got the procurement strategy all set up for the project. So what we wanted to do is just in your groups again, have a think about what we either talked about today or from your lessons learned. Is there a better way that you can that you can package up a project based on your lessons learned? So if it's been successful or if it's been had its challenges, have a think about that, and we'll just invite some answers in a few minutes.